Helena jolted awake, her head nestled against the shoulder of someone unfamiliar. For a brief instant, he found himself disoriented, unsure of his surroundings. The soft glow of the airplane's interior, the gentle hum of the engines, and the unfamiliar face that regarded her with a blend of astonishment and warmth left her feeling unsettled. "Apologies, it's my fault," she murmured, straightening herself and brushing her fingers through her tousled hair. "No need to fret," he said in a soothing tone. It appeared that he required some time to recuperate. Helena sprang from her first-class seat, having dozed off unintentionally. How had he found himself in that situation? The final memory that lingered in his mind was the moment he walked toward the bathroom, following the unsettling words of Ricardo's menacing message. "Matthew!" He burst out, a sudden thought of his son striking him. At this moment, a flight attendant rushed over. "Madam Ramirez, your son is experiencing difficulty with his breathing. The team aboard stands united with him." A chill coursed through his veins. Helena dashed down the corridor, eager to reach the economic section where she had left Mateo. He discovered him gasping for breath, as a flight attendant assisted him with an inhaler. "Mother!" exclaimed the boy, breathless. "Take a deep breath, my dear. Inhale deeply and exhale gently." Helena knelt beside him, striving to manage her rising anxiety. He grasped the inhaler and guided his son in its use. "Did you remember to pack the emergency medication?" "In my bag." Helena rummaged through Mateo's backpack with urgency, but the medicine was nowhere to be found. "It seems that Ricardo likely removed it during the visit." He whispered through clenched teeth, barely containing his fury. "Is there anything we can assist you with?" the flight attendant inquired. "We require priority landing," Helena replied, the lawyer surfacing amidst the anxious mother. "My son suffers from chronic asthma, and his father has chosen to cancel our health insurance as a means to coerce me into a divorce. I lack access to his emergency medications." Unbeknownst to her, the man on whose shoulder she had drifted into slumber was now upright, observing the unfolding scene from the hallway. Just hours earlier, Helena was meticulously going over the documents for the case she was set to represent in Buenos Aires. This marked his initial significant chance following the separation. Ricardo, her former spouse, had gone to great lengths to undermine her career, reaching out to past clients and associates to damage her professional standing. A message caused his phone to vibrate. "If you believe you can whisk me and my son away to Argentina without facing repercussions, you are sorely mistaken. I have already consulted with my attorney regarding changes to custody arrangements." Helena inhaled deeply. Ricardo had always remained indifferent to the idea of custody for Mateo, until she started to piece her life back together. It was merely another method of exerting power over her. As the aircraft trembled from the turbulence, Helena found herself losing her footing in the aisle. He sank into an unoccupied seat in first class, beside a man in a suit engrossed in his computer work. "Pardon me," she remarked, rising swiftly to her feet. "Of course," he replied, his smile warm and inviting. "Everything good?" "Indeed. Thank you." He made his way back to his seat in economy class, where Mateo lay peacefully asleep. The journey was essential. "I would advocate for a woman in an international custody dispute." He couldn't help but notice the irony. Eventually, worn out and her thoughts muddled by tension, Helena made her way to the bathroom. Upon her return, bewildered in the dimly lit cabin, she found herself in the incorrect seat. He was unaware that it was the identical seat beside the gentleman in first class. The weariness from months of legal battles, countless sleepless nights, and persistent anxiety engulfed her. In mere moments, she drifted off into a deep slumber. Javier Herrera took note of the woman resting in the adjacent seat. It was unusual for a passenger in economy to find themselves in first class, yet the dimly lit cabin and her evident fatigue told a different story. He chose to let her sleep undisturbed. As her head lay gently on his shoulder, He contemplated shifting her position, yet the weariness etched on her face held him back. From her open purse, legal documents and a photo of a beaming child peeked out. Javier found himself captivated by this woman, who unmistakably bore a significant weight upon her shoulders. In that moment, witnessing her struggle alongside her son, he began to grasp a fragment of the weight she carried. "We will be landing in 30 minutes, the flight attendant announced to Helena. "Medical personnel are on standby." "Thank you," Helena replied, grasping Mateo's hand. "All will be well, my dear. I assure you." He remained oblivious to the fact that Javier had quietly returned to his seat, speaking softly on the phone. "Carlos, please reach out to Dr. Mendez in Buenos Aires." "Absolutely, it's pressing. Intense childhood asthma. I seek the highest quality care possible." "Absolutely not, anonymous. Utterly untraceable." The arrival in Buenos Aires unfolded in a chaotic rush of sirens, medical staff, and Helena's pounding anxiety as she sprinted beside the stretcher bearing Mateo. "Are you the one who gave birth?" a physician inquired as they stepped into the medical facility. "Indeed, I am Helena Ramirez, his mother. What medications do you typically use?" As they dashed through the pristine corridors, Helena articulated the circumstances with clarity. He stated that the insurance was no longer active and that he couldn't cover the entire cost of the treatment. The physician shared a glance with a fellow practitioner who appeared to be anticipating their arrival. "Let's set that aside for the moment. The hospital offers a program tailored for situations similar to yours." Helena found herself swept away by this sudden stroke of fortune, leaving no room for doubt. The following hours unfolded with a series of tests and treatments, bringing a sense of gradual relief as Mateo began to show positive signs of recovery. "Mom, will I be all right?" Matthew inquired when he would be able to converse normally at last. "Indeed, my dear. These physicians are exceptionally skilled." As Mateo took a moment to rest, Helena reached out to her parents residing in Buenos Aires. "Mom, I'm going to take Mateo with you as we discussed, but he experienced an asthma attack on the plane. We find ourselves in the hospital." "Oh, my dear. Is my grandson doing well?" "It's improved, but I can't be with him constantly. I need to get ready for the Mendoza case, and the hearing is just 3 days away. No need to fret. Your father and I will look after Mateo while you focus on your work." Upon the doctor's return, she presented Helena with a package of medicine. This represents the pinnacle of treatment options for childhood asthma. Typically, it comes with a high cost, yet the hospital has chosen to incorporate it into the care program. However, I have yet to complete the applications for support. The physician wore a mysterious smile. In urgent situations, the wheels of bureaucracy can turn more swiftly. 2 days later, as Mateo recuperated with his grandparents, Helena threw herself into her work in the modest office she had temporarily secured in Buenos Aires. The situation revolved around a mother whose former spouse had unlawfully taken their daughter to Argentina. Her own fears about Ricardo fueled her motivation significantly. "Mr. Ramirez, there's a call for you from Mexico," the receptionist at the building announced. It was Lucia, the sole companion from the law firm where she was employed in Mexico City. "Helena, Ricardo stopped by to inquire about your case in Buenos Aires. It seems he might be seeking details to leverage against you." "I'm not surprised," Helena said with a sharp edge to her voice. "He has this fixation on dominating my choices, even though he never truly cared about Mateo. Exercise caution. He claims that you left your ailing son behind for your job." Helena shut her eyes, holding back her fury. "Mateo is staying with my parents during his recovery, and I am representing a mother who experienced precisely what Ricardo is now threatening to do to me." Once she ended the call, Helena opted to enjoy a coffee in the hotel lobby, seeking a moment to gather her thoughts. As he sat there anticipating his order, a voice he recognized drifted through the air. "License Ramirez." It was the man from the plane, the one who had allowed her to rest her head on his shoulder. "I apologize, but your name escapes me at the moment." "Javier Herrera," he said, offering a warm smile. "How is your child doing?" Helena felt a wave of astonishment that he had retained that detail in his memory. "I appreciate it more than you know. The doctors demonstrated remarkable efficiency." "It's wonderful to hear that. May I join you?" There was an element in his manner of speaking, one that conveyed respect and lacked the condescension she had encountered among Ricardo's business acquaintances, prompting Helena to nod in agreement. In the weeks that followed, these serendipitous meetings grew increasingly common. Helena found out that Javier was in Argentina for business tied to his pharmaceutical company, even though he rarely discussed his professional life. "What types of literature do you enjoy exploring?" he inquired one day. "Garcia Marquez, Isabel Allende," Helena replied, a smile gracing her lips. "Now, my reading is limited to legal codes and judicial precedents." "Even in the darkest times, we must not forsake literature," Javier declared. "It serves as a reminder that alternative realities exist beyond our own." Meanwhile, Helena found herself captivated by Mateo's medical treatment. Upon reaching out to the hospital for information regarding expenses, she learned that all costs were taken care of by a mysterious foundation. "Is there any possibility of finding out who backed it? I want to express my gratitude to you personally." "I apologize, Mrs. Ramirez. In these instances, confidentiality is paramount." Helena reflected on Claudia, a wealthy ex-friend who might have stepped in, yet their communication had ceased long ago. Little did she know, Javier continued to keep a close eye on Mateo's development via Dr. Mendez. She had conducted an investigation into Helena, uncovering how Ricardo Fuentes, a well-connected businessman, had methodically stifled her professional growth throughout their marriage and persisted in doing so even after the divorce. "What you're accomplishing is truly remarkable, especially given the challenges," Javier remarked to his assistant upon discovering that Helena was nearing victory in her case. "Plan a festive dinner at the hotel restaurant to mark the conclusion of the hearing." One afternoon, while Helena meticulously crafted her closing arguments, an unexpected text message arrived from an unknown sender. "I am aware that you are in Buenos Aires with someone else. Do you believe the family judge will look favorably upon your actions? I will reevaluate my custody claim should you return and accept my terms." With quaking hands, Helena severed the connection. Ricardo had always exhibited this behavior, dominating, scheming, skilled at transforming his minor triumphs into losses. This time, he resolved otherwise. This time, he would triumph in the courtroom and safeguard his son. Unbeknownst to Helena, her encounter with Javier was anything but serendipitous. The man who was capturing her interest harbored secrets that had the potential to alter the course of her life. "Victory is ours," Helena declared, exiting the courtroom with a beaming smile. The judge mandated that the girl be promptly returned to Mexico alongside her mother. Sofia Mendoza wept as she embraced the photograph of her daughter. "I appreciate your acknowledgement, graduate. I appreciate your understanding." No one else was willing to lend a hand. Helena experienced a powerful wave of feelings. Countless women named Sophia existed in the world, ensnared in harmful relationships, mothers battling against systems that favored the wealthy and powerful. This triumph was not solely attributed to Sophia. It was equally for her own sake. Upon exiting the courthouse, Helena found a message waiting for her. "Let us commemorate your triumph. I'll be waiting for you at the mouth at 8 p.m., Javier." In the last month, her interactions with Javier had shifted from being casual to purposeful. He appreciated his presence, the way he listened without passing judgment, and how he discussed literature and art with genuine simplicity. It felt like a soothing relief after enduring years with Ricardo, who dismissed her passions, labeling them as mere pastimes for those lacking true ambition. That evening, Helena selected a dress that was both understated and refined. He struggled to recall the last occasion when he had adorned himself for the sheer joy of it, rather than out of necessity. With Ricardo, his look was essential. With Javier, it was a decision. The eatery exuded warmth, offering glimpses of the vibrant Boca neighborhood. Javier awaited her arrival, his smile radiating warmth and illuminating his eyes. To the virtuous lady, he declared, lifting his glass high. For new beginnings, she replied. The dialogue unfolded effortlessly. Helena shared with him the story of her family, revealing how her father had passed away during her teenage years, leaving her mother as the sole provider. Perhaps that's the reason it was so difficult for me to part ways with Ricardo. My mother devoted herself entirely to our well-being. He believed it was essential to endure for the sake of giving Mateo a complete family. At times, what appears to be an essential sacrifice can actually be a snare, Javier remarked. At the age of 20, I experienced the tragic loss of my parents in an accident. My younger brother experienced a respiratory condition akin to Mateo's. Without proper treatment, he paused, and Helena noticed the anguish reflected in his gaze. I deeply apologize, she murmured, instinctively reaching for his hand. It was ages ago, Javier replied, softly holding her hand. However, it transformed my viewpoint on what is truly significant. Helena sensed a bond that transcended mere attraction. Something about Javier struck a profound chord within her. Perhaps it was the collective grief, or perhaps it was the manner in which they had both been compelled to reconstruct their lives. Yet, a quiet whisper within cautioned him about the rapidity with which he was revealing himself. You hardly know him, the voice that echoed with a familiar maternal tone cautioned him. Carmen Suarez. She had expressed herself clearly in her last call. My dear, you have recently emerged from a difficult union. Exercise caution before entering into a new relationship, particularly with someone you are not familiar with. You have a thoughtful nature, Javier noted. I just recalled something my mother used to say, Helena smiled, her concern for me evident. Mothers have a sixth sense for trouble, he quipped. What did he say to caution you regarding me? I can't quite grasp your true identity, Javier appeared to stiffen a bit. And who do you believe I am? Just as Helena was about to reply, a graceful woman glided over to her table. She stood tall, clad in a black dress that radiated exclusivity, embodying an aura of confidence and authority. Javier, my dear, what a delightful surprise to see you here, she remarked, resting a possessive hand on his shoulder. Gabriela, he replied, clearly uneasy. I had no idea you were in Buenos Aires. Farma Herrera's urgent concerns. You are already familiar with the experience of guiding the vice presidency of the most significant company in Latin America. He bent down and pressed his lips against Javier's in a fluid, effortless motion. He turned his gaze toward Helena, as though he were seeing her for the very first time. You haven't introduced us. Helena Ramirez, Gabriela Torres, Javier stated with a hint of detachment. Ramirez? Gabriela squinted her eyes. Ah, the attorney involved in the international custody matter. Javier has shown a keen interest in your situation. He even looked into your former spouse. What is his name? Ah, indeed, Ricardo Fuentes. Helena sensed a chill creep through her veins. Have you looked into Ricardo? He inquired of Javier straightforwardly. Helena, may I elaborate? Gabriela pressed on, seemingly relishing the experience. And that unique consideration for your son. Javier consistently displays remarkable generosity with the products from Farma Herrera. The initiative was his brainchild, you see, even though he typically isn't so intimate in his choices. The elements align seamlessly, creating a captivating enigma. The astonishing medical treatment. The serendipitous meetings. Details regarding your situation. So, you're the one behind Farma Herrera, Helena whispered, recalling the emblem on Mateo's prescriptions. Yes, but that's not. Helena rose suddenly, her voice firm. You looked into my background. You looked into my former spouse. You took care of all this, didn't you? The gatherings, the healthcare assistance. What more can you discern about me without my input? Allow me to clarify what? That you've been pulling the strings of my existence ever since you witnessed my fragility on that plane. The restaurant appeared to center on him. She was overwhelmed by the same wave of nausea that had washed over her during those times when Ricardo dictated every detail of her existence, when he scrutinized her phone, when he interrogated her friends about their whereabouts. That's not the impression you might have, Javier attempted to clarify. So, what are my thoughts, Javier? His voice quivered. Are you aware of that as well? Gabriela observed with a smile that she struggled to keep hidden. Very well, I shall let you continue your discussion. Javier, let's discuss the contract with Brazil tomorrow. Helena grasped her bag. I believed you were unique, he uttered, his voice trembling, yet you're merely another influential figure convinced of your entitlement to dictate the fates of others. He exited the restaurant, overwhelmed by a sense of suffocation as if the walls were closing in on him. The crisp night air of Buenos Aires failed to ease the overwhelming sense of suffocation. She had fled from one gilded prison with Ricardo, only to discover another, seemingly more benevolent yet equally confining. As she made her way to her hotel, tears clouded her sight. She felt foolish, innocent, but above all, she felt a deep sense of betrayal, for this time, unlike with Ricardo, she had truly started to let her guard down. He vowed to himself, as he stepped into the taxi, that this would be the last time. She had endured Ricardo Fuentes, she would endure Javier Herrera, and this time she wouldn't allow anyone else to come near enough to inflict pain on her again. The journey back to Mexico was excruciating. Elena focused intently on the work documents, purposefully disregarding each call and message from Javier. She felt utterly foolish. He had permitted his barriers to weaken, allowing hope to trickle through the fissures in his worn heart. Encountered the same error once more. I reflected as the aircraft shook, placing my faith in a figure of authority. After arriving in Mexico City, he discovered 3 voice messages from Javier and 1 from Ricardo. She listened to her ex-husband's first. Now you find yourself mingling with Javier Herrera. Ricardo's voice oozed with malice. It's quite remarkable that you can neglect our ailing son yet still manage to enjoy dinner with one of the wealthiest businessmen in Latin America. The judge will be quite eager to learn about the funding for Mateo's new treatments. Elena experienced a wave of nausea. What was the source of Ricardo's knowledge about Javier? The solution was clear. In the realm of commerce, the word was spreading rapidly. It's likely that someone noticed her dinner with Javier and had something to say about it. The following days unfolded like a labyrinth of red tape. Ricardo officially submitted his petition to alter custody arrangements, citing concerns of maternal neglect and raising doubts about Elena's moral integrity. That's a terrible joke, Lucia remarked, glancing over the lawsuit in the cramped office they occupied together. Ricardo Fuentes discussing ethics. The individual who kept you apart from your loved ones and companions for an extended period. But he has money and connections, Elena replied, massaging her temples, and now he's suggesting that I have a benefactor who covers Mateo's treatments. The phone rang once more. It was Javier. Once more. Will you ever consider responding to him? Lucia inquired. There's really nothing to discuss, Lucia looked into my background. He delved into the details of Ricardo. He orchestrated everything for. I can't even fathom the reason. And if you chose to listen to it, providing an explanation doesn't bind you to any obligations. At last, Elena picked up the phone when Javier called, driven more by fatigue than by any real desire. Thank you for your response, Elena. His voice conveyed a true sense of relief. I must clarify something for you. There's no need for an explanation, she responded with a chill in her voice. I'm grateful for the medical assistance provided for Mateo, but I have no further requests from you. Honor my boundaries and choices, a concept my former spouse never grasped. Kindly, just 5 minutes. Javier, I'm already overwhelmed with the challenges posed by a domineering figure in my life. I don't require an additional one. Farewell. 2 days later, an envelope arrived at his office. Within the envelope lay a handwritten letter accompanied by documents pertaining to a foundation dedicated to children suffering from respiratory ailments. Elena started the letter. I understand and respect your choice to refrain from communicating with me. I simply wish to share the truth with you. Indeed, I organized treatment for Mateo. Indeed, I looked into Ricardo, not as a means of control, but rather as a way to ensure your safety. My younger brother passed away because he did not receive the appropriate care for his asthma. Upon witnessing Mateo in that predicament, I felt compelled to take action. I acknowledge that my approaches may have crossed boundaries. I simply aimed to assist without creating a sense of obligation. All about Gabriela. She was once my fiancée, but that was many years ago, and we parted ways long before now. What you witnessed was her effort to undermine something she viewed as a danger. I sincerely regret the harm that has been done. I will honor your boundaries. Elena placed the letter in a drawer, her emotions swirling within her. A fragment of her being yearned to trust him. Another aspect, the one Ricardo had conditioned himself to be wary of, stayed vigilant. The initial custody hearing felt like a surprise attack. Ricardo put forth evidence suggesting possible negligence. Images of Mateo during his time in the hospital. Images of altered dialogues. Accounts from those close to her indicated that Elena placed her professional ambitions above her responsibilities as a mother. Mr. Ramirez's lawyer contended that her focus on revitalizing her social life has led to a disregard for our son's well-being. During a dinner with a millionaire in Buenos Aires, the minor experienced a severe asthma attack. The strike was subtle yet deliberate. Elena held her ground, showcasing her own proof of Ricardo's domineering actions and the way he had spitefully terminated the family health insurance. The hearing concluded without reaching a definitive conclusion. The judge arranged for psychological assessments and monitored visits as additional information was collected. The initial supervised visit proved to be a complete failure. Ricardo devoted the whole time to probing Mateo about his mother's new acquaintance, causing the boy considerable stress. As Mateo stepped back into Ricardo's house, he was suddenly gripped by another asthma attack. Elena was in the midst of her work when the call came in. Mrs. Ramirez, your son is currently in the hospital, the social worker conveyed. During the visit with his father, he experienced an attack. Upon his arrival, the hospital was engulfed in chaos. Ricardo stood there, pretending to care in front of the medical team, yet his eyes shot daggers at Elena. Had you cared for him as you should have, this wouldn't have occurred, he whispered as they brushed past one another in the corridor. You terminated his insurance, Ricardo. You questioned him relentlessly until he had an episode, she replied, suppressing her fury. Is there a problem? A familiar voice inquired. Elena glanced over to see Javier, impeccably dressed in formal attire, holding a briefcase. What brings you here? She inquired, perplexed. Licenciado Herrera, he said, offering a card to Ricardo, the legal advisor for Mrs. Ramirez. Ricardo squinted, his gaze sharpening. So now you represent him in court. Handy. Mr. Fuentes, Javier replied with a composed demeanor, I am aware that you intentionally terminated Mateo's health insurance following the divorce, which qualifies as parental negligence under Article 323 of the Civil Code. Additionally, I possess evidence of your efforts to undermine Ms. Ramirez professionally, including emails sent to her colleagues and clients. Ricardo's complexion drained of color. That constitutes an invasion of privacy. However, it's not the case when the recipients of those emails choose to deliver them willingly, Javier replied, as he opened his portfolio. I also possess the recording from today's visit, where you applied psychological pressure on a minor with a pre-existing medical condition. Elena observed the interaction, captivated. She was unsure of how Javier had acquired that information, but its impact was instantaneous. Ricardo recoiled. "This isn't finished," he warned before departing. "What about Mateo?" Javier inquired once they found themselves alone. "Stable now. Thank you for, whatever it is you just did." "I simply spoke the truth, Elena. It's the only thing I've ever desired to pursue." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, following the tumultuous dinner in Buenos Aires, Elena sensed that perhaps, just perhaps, she ought to hear him out completely. 6 months can alter the course of a life. For Elena, those months were filled with profound change and unwavering resolve. With the legal pressure from Ricardo momentarily alleviated due to Javier's intervention, he could focus on launching his own practice dedicated to domestic violence and family law cases. A modest space in the Roma neighborhood, featuring 2 desks and a secretary shared with another attorney. It wasn't extravagant, but it was his own. Ramirez y ni Asociados, Family Justice. The unassuming sign at the entrance declared. "It's perfect, Mom," Mateo remarked, his asthma now managed effectively through consistent treatment. "Does it appear that way to you?" "It's modest in size when you consider your dad's company. But here, people aren't afraid to smile," the boy replied, showcasing the insight that only children of divorced parents possess. Elena embraced her son, fighting back tears. There were moments, such as this, when every ounce of effort felt justified. The initial client arrived on the recommendation of Lucia, a young woman whose bruises were inadequately concealed beneath layers of makeup. "I can't afford to pay much," the woman cautioned. "We have a pro bono program," Elena replied. "Please share your situation." Before long, the small firm started to see an influx of similar cases. Elena toiled through demanding days, yet for the first time in years, she sensed she was truly impacting her surroundings. One day, as she examined the lease agreement for the premises, she stumbled upon something intriguing. The rent was significantly lower than the market rate. Upon his inquiry, the administrator clarified, this building is owned by the Nuevo Amanecer Foundation. They provide affordable spaces for professionals engaged in community services. Elena was unfamiliar with the foundation, and her lawyer's intuition compelled her to dig deeper. He found that it had been created merely 6 months prior, oddly aligning with his quest for a venue. Since the event at the hospital, he had not been in touch with Javier. He honored her need for distance, confining his communication to a folder containing all the evidence against Ricardo, which she utilized to counter her ex-husband's threats. This separation allowed him to ponder. His initial fury transformed into bewilderment, and ultimately into a hesitant respect for how Javier navigated the circumstances, supplying resources without dictating outcomes, valuing her independence while extending a helping hand. "Mom, could we ask Mr. Javier to come to my school recital?" Mateo asked one afternoon, catching Elena off guard. "Why would you want to invite him? You hardly know him." "I write letters to him," the boy admitted, his gaze dropping. "And he responds, sends me books about science, and explains things about asthma that are scary, but he makes them seem normal." Elena was left without words. "Since when?" "From the hospital. He shared his email with me and encouraged me to reach out with any questions about my illness, as his brother had experienced it too." A week later, Elena arranged a fundraiser for her pro bono program, securing a small venue and gathering former colleagues along with potential donors. To his astonishment, the turnout exceeded his expectations. As the event unfolded, he expressed his gratitude to the attendees and caught sight of a man named Javier lingering in the back of the room. Not one of the VIPs and not seeking the spotlight, he quietly observed from a distance. Once Elena concluded her speech, she navigated through the crowd until she found him. "I wasn't expecting you," he said, his voice steadier than his emotions. "I stand behind meaningful initiatives," he continued, "and yours certainly qualifies." He offered a faint smile, reminiscent of the New Dawn Foundation. "You looked into it, I'm a lawyer," that's my job. An uncomfortable silence hung in the air. Matteo mentioned the letters. Elena finally broke the quiet. I hope you don't mind, that was never my intention, she interjected. It has taken me some time to grasp this, but now I recognize the distinction between control and support. Ricardo controlled to restrict, while you supported to foster growth. Javier's expression brightened with anticipation. Elena, regarding what transpired in Buenos Aires. Not here, she replied, aware that several guests were watching them with interest. Can we discuss it later? Javier nodded and quietly departed. Just as Elena was about to search for him at the event's conclusion, her mother made her entrance at the door. Carmen Suarez, with her signature flair, approached Elena. Mom, what are you doing here? Elena asked. I thought you were looking after Matteo, your son is with Lucia. I came because I needed to share something important with you face to face. Carmen gently took her daughter's arm and guided her to a secluded corner. I have been in touch with Javier Herrera. Elena sensed the ground trembled beneath her. That? Why? Initially, it was because Matteo requested my assistance. He needed help with sending his letters, but then I stumbled upon something important that you ought to be aware of. Carmen detailed how Javier had been providing anonymous guidance to Elena's law firm via the foundation. He had diligently collected evidence against Ricardo for months, always adhering to legal boundaries. He was adamant about keeping his identity hidden, believing that Elena should triumph based on her own strengths. Why didn't you mention it earlier? Because you required time, my dear. Time to mend, to demonstrate that you could be independent. And he recognized that. He was never one to pressure or seek acknowledgement. Elena recalled Javier's letter, the reference to her brother, the charity for children suffering from respiratory illnesses. Your brother passed away from asthma, correct? Carmen nodded. Miguel Herrera, aged 15. His parents were unable to afford specialized treatment. Javier, at 20, was attending university. I toiled and learned, yet it fell short. Following the tragedy that claimed his parents a year later, he vowed that no child should endure a similar fate if he could help it. How do you know all this? Because he mentioned it to me while we were anxiously awaiting news from Matteo at the hospital, Carmen replied. It was not a tale of wealth-flaunting generosity. It was the heartfelt revelation of a sibling still grappling with grief. Tears welled up in Elena's eyes. Everything aligned perfectly. Javier's instinctive response to Matteo's asthma attack on the plane, his sincere concern for the child's health, the underlying connection. And there's one more thing, Carmen interjected, retrieving an envelope from her purse. Matteo has been creating this. Inside were several children's illustrations. One depicted 3 figures holding hands, labeled Mom, Me, and Javier. Another illustrated a plane with 2 individuals asleep, accompanied by an arrow stating, "This is where it all began." I never told him to keep his distance because of Matteo, Elena whispered. I did it out of fear. Carmen held her daughter's hand tightly. It's natural to feel fear after what you went through with Ricardo, but remember, not all men are alike. Some genuinely want to support you without trying to dominate your life. As Elena stepped out of the room, she found that Javier was already gone. The only remnant of his presence was a single note, "When you're ready to talk, if you ever are, you know where to find me." For the first time in ages, Elena sensed she was prepared for something beyond mere survival. She was ready to embrace trust once more. The Mexico City International Airport buzzed with its usual lively energy. Elena navigated the bustling crowd with a sense of unease, glancing at her watch repeatedly. The location he had picked held a significance that now felt painfully clear to her. Perhaps even a bit cliché. And if he doesn't come, he pondered, biting his lower lip. His message had been succinct. We need to talk, where it all began. 5 p.m., Javier replied with a straightforward, I'll be there. He paused at the boarding gate, the same one he had passed through on his flight to Buenos Aires nearly a year prior. The flight that altered the course of their lives. "Here I am," came a voice from behind him. Elena turned to see Javier, more gaunt than she recalled, with dark circles beneath his eyes hinting at restless nights. He wore a casual outfit, a departure from the formal suit he typically donned. "Thank you for coming," she said, a wave of uncertainty washing over her. "Would you like to take a walk?" They moved through the hushed atmosphere until they stumbled upon a somewhat tranquil cafeteria. Once they settled in, steaming cups of coffee placed before them, the heaviness of their unvoiced thoughts felt almost suffocating. "I talked to my mother," Elena eventually broke the silence. "He mentioned your brother Miguel." Javier cast his gaze downward at his cup. "Miguel was exceptional. I aspired to become a doctor, focusing on respiratory diseases." Ironically, a melancholic smile appeared on his face. "When he passed away, something shattered within my family. My parents. The accident a year later felt almost predestined, as if they had surrendered their caution. I deeply apologize, Javier. When I spotted you on that plane, weary, battling by yourself," he went on. And then Mateo, caught in the grip of his asthma attack, found himself reliving the entire ordeal once more. "I made a hasty decision. I acknowledge it. I ought to have been upfront from the start about my identity and my intentions to assist. What held you back?" Javier exhaled heavily. "People often alter their behavior towards me based on my surname and financial status. Some offer compliments for their own gain. People form opinions about me without truly understanding who I am. Your remarkable independence and dignity in the face of challenges inspired me to connect with you beyond the usual barriers that my role imposes. I realize it was selfish." Elena nodded, absorbing his words. "Upon discovering your true identity and realizing you had delved into my past, I felt a deep sense of betrayal," she admitted. "Ricardo governed every facet of my life. He scrutinized my phone, questioned my friends, undermined my job prospects. I spent years coming to the realization that this was neither protection nor love. I never sought to dominate you, Elena." There was an unmistakable honesty reflected in his gaze. "I simply aimed to support you quietly, allowing your brilliance to take center stage. I needed some time to grasp it," she confessed. The distinction between control and support can often be obscured when one has become accustomed to the mistreatment. A thoughtful hush enveloped them. Outside, aircraft ascended and descended, transporting individuals to fresh horizons, to renewed opportunities. "Mateo has been longing for your presence," Elena finally expressed. "And I responded to him. He is a remarkable young one. He has been sketching our family, and you appear in those illustrations." Javier looked genuinely taken aback. "Elena, I do not seek to claim a position that is not rightfully mine. I have consistently honored your boundaries and your independence." "I understand," she responded, gathering her resolve. "And that is exactly why I am here, because you have accomplished what no one else has, standing by me unconditionally, assisting me without belittling me, honoring me without claiming me." For the first time in the conversation, Elena reached across the table, taking Javier's hand. "I'm not sure how much I can contribute," he continued. "I am on a journey of healing, gradually discovering the path to trust. I carry fear, scars, and a son who must come first. I don't request anything beyond what you can or will provide," he responded, softly squeezing her hand. "We can take our time, free from pressure and expectations. Are you open to beginning anew, with complete honesty and no assumptions?" "I would be delighted to," Javier beamed. "Let me take a moment to present myself in the right way. Javier Herrera, 36, is the owner of a pharmaceutical company he built from the ground up after experiencing the loss of his family. He has a deep appreciation for Garcia Marquez and is a quiet champion of those causes that often go unnoticed." Elena chuckled, sensing a burden ease from her shoulders. "Elena Ramirez, 33, is an attorney focused on family law, a devoted mother to an incredible child, a survivor of a toxic marriage, and is discovering that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. The ensuing weeks became a journey of rediscovery. Javier encountered Mateo in a formal setting, this time as Elena's friend rather than a hidden supporter. Their days were filled with explorations of museums and parks, followed by cozy dinners at Elena's home. There were neither lavish jewelry nor high-end dining establishments. Javier realized that her true appreciation lay in authenticity, rather than the opulence that Ricardo had wielded as a means of manipulation. Carmen observed the progression of this relationship with measured approval. One afternoon, as Elena and Javier cooked side by side, their laughter filled the air, and she leaned in to whisper to her daughter. "This one prefers you to be self-reliant. He desires to stroll alongside you. What makes you so confident?" Elena inquired. "He gazes at you when you believe he's unaware, and he beams with pride when you accomplish something on your own." Ricardo's expression darkened when you displayed your independence. "Javier honors your resilience." 3 months later, during a trip to the zoo, Mateo dashed ahead to catch a glimpse of the elephants, leaving them briefly on their own. "I love you," Javier said plainly, without much flourish. "Not due to what you require from me, but because of the essence of who you are for yourself." Elena sensed a warmth blossoming within her chest. It was not the intense thrill he had once confused for love in his younger days, but rather something more enduring, tranquil, and simultaneously profound. "I love you as well," he responded. "It fills me with fear." "Fear comes with the territory," he said with a grin. "It signifies that something significant is on the line." He grasped her hand while they observed Mateo enthusiastically gesturing towards the animals. "Have you heard what Mateo shared with me yesterday?" Elena remarked. "He appreciates my presence when you're here. He mentioned that he smiles more often. He is an exceptionally perceptive child. He mentioned that he appreciates your demeanor when you believe no one is observing." Javier raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "So, how would you describe me?" "Gentle with those we don't know. Calm and composed. Embrace the now." Elena beamed with joy. The significant aspects that Ricardo never embodied. Ricardo had ultimately surrendered his efforts to secure custody, as the evidence collected by Javier loomed over him, threatening to unveil his secrets to the world. Their previous encounter had been short and unexpectedly cordial. Maybe he had discovered a reason to transform, or perhaps he had merely encountered yet another struggle to confront. As the night enveloped the world, Mateo lay peacefully asleep, while Elena and Javier found themselves on the modest balcony of their apartment, lost in thought, gazing at the twinkling city lights. "Do you recall that time on the plane when you dozed off against my shoulder?" he inquired, somewhat distantly. "I was utterly exhausted, to the point where I can hardly recall the moment I took a seat." "It was the moment I fell in love without even knowing it," Javier admitted. "Not due to your appearance, but because of the significance you embodied. Power, grace, perseverance. Seeing the photo of Mateo peeking out of your bag, I was truly enchanted by your remarkable capacity for unconditional love." Elena leaned her head against Javier's shoulder, instinctively evoking the memory of their initial encounter. "Who would have thought that fatigue could mark the start of something so exquisite?" he whispered. "At times, we must let down our barriers to allow the light to enter," he said softly, pressing a tender kiss to her forehead. Under the vast, twinkling sky of Mexico City, Elena came to realize the distinction between being saved and being supported. Ricardo had attempted to save her in order to claim her. Javier strolled alongside her, offering his hand when she sought support, releasing it when she was ready to soar on her own. In that fragile equilibrium of autonomy and togetherness, of individual resilience and mutual openness, both discovered a treasure beyond any wealth, the chance to love freely, unburdened by fear. A year later, the Mexico City International Airport found itself at the center of yet another pivotal chapter in Elena's life. This time, she walked with purpose, unburdened by worry. This time, I found myself in a cozy family circle, making our way to the boarding gate, filled with laughter. "Are we there yet?" Matteo, now 10, asked, his voice bubbling with a blend of eagerness and restlessness. "I have held on to this secret for a full 2 weeks. When we're on the plane," Javier vowed, gently tousling the boy's hair with warmth. "The intrigue lies in the unknown." Elena observed the exchange with a serene smile. The Ramirez and Asociados law firm expanded to include 5 attorneys who specialize in family law and domestic violence matters. Her pro bono program garnered national acclaim, and she recently triumphed in a landmark case that established a precedent for women facing circumstances akin to those she had once endured. Javier's transformation had been remarkable as well. He transformed Pharma Herrera to focus on advancing research in childhood respiratory diseases. The Miguel Herrera Foundation, established in memory of his brother, offered complimentary treatment to children from underprivileged families. "What occupies your mind?" Javier inquired, observing her thoughtful demeanor as they prepared to board. "Regarding all that has shifted since our last journey together," she responded. "Even though, at that moment, we were unaware of our connection. I realized at the moment you drifted off on my shoulder," he grinned. "My heart understood it before my mind did." The flight was unexpectedly headed to the Riviera Maya, a delightful surprise from Javier to commemorate the first anniversary of their official relationship. Matteo felt a surge of excitement. This would mark his inaugural journey to the ocean. Once airborne, the boy retrieved his drawing notebook, an item he consistently had by his side. With a focused intensity reminiscent of youth, he started to sketch lines that quickly transformed into form. An aircraft, silhouettes of people, a narrative conveyed through visuals. "What masterpiece are you creating, champion?" Javier inquired, bending closer from his seat. "The tale we share," Matteo replied effortlessly. "What made Mom drift off while you were talking? What led you to discover your feelings of love without even noticing it?" Elena and Javier shared astonished glances. "How do you know that?" Elena inquired. "Grandma Carmen shared the entire tale with me," Matteo said, his eyes focused intently on his drawing. "He mentioned that often genuine love arrives when we are too weary to uphold the barriers we construct around our hearts." "Your grandmother has a gift for storytelling," Javier remarked, captivated by Carmen's insight. "He claims he merely reflects what he has observed in reality," Matteo elaborated on his artwork, "and that you embody the notion of second chances." The illustration depicted the precise moment from that initial night, with Elena resting on Javier's shoulder on the plane, him gazing at her with a look of astonishment and something more, something they could now recognize as the emergence of a profound emotion. "You are capturing that moment better than a photograph," observed Javier. "I am not just drawing what was seen," Matteo explained with a clarity that only children possess. "I'm illustrating the emotions within." Elena grasped Javier's hand, their fingers weaving together. She had chosen not to wear an engagement ring, they had mutually agreed that the formalities could be postponed. Their connection transcended any ordinary emblem, founded on a profound respect, unwavering honesty, and the realization that genuine love neither possesses nor controls, instead, it empowers and uplifts. "At times, I ponder," Elena whispered, "how something as seemingly trivial as dozing off in an unexpected spot can alter the course of a whole existence." "It wasn't the wrong place," Javier corrected gently, "it was exactly the right place, it's just that neither of us knew it at the time." Matteo continued drawing, now adding a sequence that illustrated his own journey, the asthma attack, the enigmatic treatment, the secret letters exchanged with Javier, the foundation, and, ultimately, the 3 of them together as they are now. The view from the plane window revealed a breathtaking sunset, as the sky was adorned with vibrant hues of orange and purple. Elena leaned her head on Javier's shoulder, this time with intention, echoing that first moment but now imbued with the depth of their shared experiences. "Are you aware of what makes all of this so stunning?" she inquired. That you failed to rescue me. You were there as I found my way back." Javier pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. And you rescued me, even if you're unaware, from a life where achievements overshadowed genuine relationships. Mateo, seemingly unaware of the dialogue around him, immersed himself in his creation. In the final panel of his illustration, he included an element that caused Elena to gasp. The trio, hand in hand, gazed toward a horizon illuminated by the rising sun. Below, in his youthful yet resolute script, he penned, "A weary mother drifts off atop a millionaire, and he unknowingly falls in love." The most beautiful love story ever told. Elena and Javier exchanged smiles at the innocent yet spot-on description. High above, where fate had once brought them together, they now soared side by their own decision. In that contrast resided the essence of their tale's beauty. What started as a chance occurrence born from fatigue evolved into a deliberate choice to embrace one another daily, with all the flaws, anxieties, and aspirations that came with it. The aircraft pressed onward through the vast expanse above, transporting not merely 3 individuals, but also 3 souls who had discovered that second chances, grounded in honesty, can blossom into something more exquisite and enduring than the most enchanting of stories. A wealthy individual arrives at a homeless shelter and is taken aback to discover his former spouse of a year cradling a newborn baby. The next revelation will alter their existence eternally, weaving a tale of remorse, salvation, and new beginnings. The evening air held a refreshing chill as the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting vibrant shades of orange and pink across the sky. Alex Bradford, the charismatic millionaire entrepreneur, drove his stylish black car into the parking lot of an unremarkable building in the city's core. The structure stood aged, its bricks worn and its sign barely legible, yet it thrived with energy and movement. This was not a location that Alex often visited. His realm was filled with towering skyscrapers, extravagant gatherings, and elite meeting spaces. Yet here he stood, outside a homeless shelter, clad in an impeccably tailored suit that radiated affluence and authority. Alex found himself in a place that lacked any genuine purpose for his presence. His assistant had recommended he attend as part of a philanthropic initiative, a strategy to enhance his public persona. The media has been closely examining his every action, portraying him as distant and out of touch with the challenges faced by everyday individuals. The public relations team believed this visit might help to humanize him, revealing a more empathetic aspect of the individual who built the empire. Alex, on the other hand, harbored doubts. He held a strong belief in charity, yet this seemed more like a performance than a genuine act. Up to this point. As he emerged from his vehicle, the brisk wind bit at his cheeks. The shelter thrummed with energy, as volunteers served hot meals, families nestled together for solace, and the sound of children's laughter filled the air, undeterred by their situation. The contrast of happiness against struggle stirred something profound within Alex, yet he found it elusive to identify. The interior was enveloped in warmth, yet it bore the subtle aroma of disinfectant mingling with the essence of cooking. The walls were adorned with folding tables, where dedicated volunteers served up steaming bowls of soup alongside crusty bread. Alex strode forward with a measured assurance, the sound of his polished shoes echoing against the aged tiles beneath him. Accustomed to being the center of attention, he found himself feeling strangely out of sync, his meticulously crafted outfit standing in stark contrast to the unpretentious environment. And then, in the midst of the throng, he caught sight of her. In the corner, she sat on a metal chair, gently cradling a newborn wrapped in a worn blanket. Her formerly radiant brown hair hung listlessly around her face, and her cheeks appeared pale and sunken. Even in her seeming fatigue, there was a subtle power in the way she cradled the infant, a nurturing gentleness that halted Alex in his tracks. It was Emily. Alex's heart pounded fiercely within his chest. The woman before him, clad in thrifted attire and cradling a child, was his former spouse, the very Emily who had once adorned their lavish residence, and who had shared his life for a brief 6 months before their split a year prior. The memories crashed into him with the force of a freight train. Their intense love affair, their fiery yet chaotic union, and the heart-wrenching separation that had shattered them both in ways they were reluctant to confront. Emily was still unaware of his presence. Her attention was wholly devoted to the infant, who let out a gentle whimper in her embrace. She softly swayed with the child, a lullaby escaping her lips that Alex faintly recalled, the scene pulling at his heartstrings in an unexpected manner. Since the divorce, Emily had become a ghost in his life, absent from both sight and sound. They had separated under harsh circumstances, with both holding the other responsible for the downfall of their union. Yet, witnessing her in this moment, so different from the woman he once knew, stirred a mix of guilt and intrigue within him. What had transpired with her? What brought her to this place of all places? And whose child was she cradling? A volunteer came up to her, offering a small bowl of soup and a slice of bread. Emily received it with a thankful smile. Yet, Alex observed the weariness etched on her features, the creases on her face telling tales of restless nights and unending concern. She no longer wore her wedding ring, not that he had anticipated she would. Yet, there was an undeniable quality to her stance, the manner in which she protected the infant, that stirred a deep ache within Alex's heart. This was not merely a decline from favor, it was a plunge into a completely new realm. Compelled by an irresistible force, Alex traversed the room. His footsteps hesitated as he approached, the weight of their reunion settling in. He gently cleared his throat, prompting Emily to glance up. Her eyes grew large with disbelief. In that fleeting moment, silence enveloped them both. The noise of the shelter receded into the distance as their eyes met, the heaviness of unvoiced thoughts lingering in the air between them. "Alex," she finally murmured, her voice strained. It wasn't a simple hello, it was a blend of astonishment and an emotion he struggled to understand. Her gaze flicked to his suit, his immaculate appearance, and then returned to his face. "Emily," he said, his voice unwavering even as a tempest of feelings raged inside him. He cast a fleeting look at the infant, now peacefully settled in her embrace. "Excuse me? What brings you here?" Her lips formed a tight line, and for a brief moment, he wondered if she would remain silent. Then she let out a deep breath, her shoulders drooping as if burdened by an unseen load. "The tale stretches on for quite some time." "I have time," Alex said swiftly, sliding into the chair opposite her. He found himself questioning the reason behind his unwavering insistence. Perhaps it was a sense of guilt, perhaps a spark of curiosity, or perhaps it was something more profound, something he wasn't prepared to identify. Emily paused, her grip on the baby's blanket growing firmer. She scanned the shelter, her eyes darting as if seeking a way out, yet found none. At last, she locked eyes with him, and Alex caught a glimpse of vulnerability that steeled his determination. "Why are you here?" she retorted, her tone now more cutting. Alex brushed off the remark, unfazed by the insinuation. "The same question could be posed to you." Her jaw clenched, yet she remained silent. Instead, she redirected her focus to the baby, her fingers gently caressing the child's cheek. The gesture was incredibly gentle and nurturing, leaving Alex feeling unsteady. "Is that your baby?" he inquired, his voice tinged with uncertainty, even though the answer appeared clear. Emily's demeanor softened, and she gave a gentle nod. "He goes by the name Oliver." The name lingered in the atmosphere, evoking a sense of defiance. Alex experienced a fleeting sensation that eluded his understanding. Envy, sorrow, remorse. "What is his age?" 2 weeks, she replied, her voice a mere whisper. 14 days. Alex calculated the numbers swiftly in his mind. He dismissed the thought of Emily giving birth 2 weeks ago and redirected his attention to the present moment. "Emily," he started, his voice softer this time. "What transpired with you?" Her eyes sparkled with a mix of fury and pain. "So, you mean after you left me behind?" she retorted. "Once you abandoned me to gather the fragments." Alex recoiled at the accusation. He parted his lips to reply, yet she raised a hand, interrupting him. "I'm not obligated to explain myself to you, Alex. Not after all that has transpired." The sharpness in her tone pierced through him, yet Alex couldn't refute that he had earned it. Their union had crumbled in a fiery chaos, with both parties equally responsible for the devastation. This moment isn't focused on what has come before, it's centered on what is happening now. And the moment was right before him, swathed in a soft baby blanket, cradled by the woman to whom he had once pledged eternal love. He leaned in, his voice gentle yet resolute. "Indeed, you have no obligations towards me. Emily, I implore you, allow me to assist." Emily's eyes shimmered with unfallen tears. She averted her gaze, her lips quivering. "I don't require your sympathy, Alex," she murmured. "It's not sympathy," he maintained. It's a feeling of remorse." For the first time since their gazes had met, Emily appeared to hesitate. She looked at Oliver, then shifted her gaze to Alex. The barriers she had constructed were formidable, yet Alex noticed the fissures beginning to appear. "Why now?" she inquired, her voice trembling. "What's prompted your concern at this moment?" Alex found himself at a crossroads, caught in a web of uncertainty. Perhaps he held the answer within, yet the thought of confronting it felt daunting. All he understood was that witnessing Emily in this state awakened a profound feeling inside him, one he couldn't dismiss. Amidst the lively activity of the shelter, Alex quietly resolved to himself. No matter what had transpired or how they found themselves in this situation, he was determined not to turn his back this time. Neither from Emily nor from Oliver. Alex reclined in his chair, his eyes fixed intently on Emily's face. The lively clamor of the shelter gradually receded, allowing memories to surge forth, unexpected and strikingly clear. He recalled the moment their eyes first met. She stood at the periphery of the room during an event he had attended with some hesitation. Amidst the sea of designer gowns and perfectly crafted smiles, Emily stood out with her unique charm. She donned a modest dress, her inherent beauty radiating effortlessly, unadorned by any frills. Her laughter, authentic and free, pierced the affected atmosphere of the gathering, capturing his focus like a guiding light. Emily was indifferent to his riches and status, a refreshing change for Alex. She had not inquired about his entrepreneurial pursuits or his financial status. Instead, she shared her passion for art and her aspirations of someday opening a gallery. Her enthusiasm was contagious, and her delight in the small moments stood in sharp relief to the frigid, methodical realm he occupied. Alex was enchanted, irresistibly pulled toward her warmth as if he were a moth drawn to a flickering flame. Their romance had unfolded in a flurry of passion and excitement. Alex, a man known for his composure and rationality, had abandoned all restraint for Emily. Late-night dinners evolved into early morning dialogues. Unplanned excursions to the countryside turned into a regular occurrence. They formed an unexpected duo, he, the affluent entrepreneur with a shielded soul, and she, the vibrant creator brimming with enthusiasm for existence. Yet, against all odds, it seemed to have succeeded, or at least that was his belief. The wedding was a splendid event, yet Emily had been adamant about maintaining an intimate atmosphere due to Alex's prominent status. She appeared luminous, her eyes glimmering with affection and optimism. On that day, Alex was filled with an unshakable confidence, believing they could face any challenge that came their way as a united front. However, the fissures began to emerge shortly thereafter. Initially, it was the little details that caught my attention. Alex's hectic routine frequently pulled him away from home, while Emily's carefree nature often conflicted with the strict framework of his existence. She longed for afternoons filled with painting or wandering through the city, while he found himself confined to meetings or toiling late into the night. Their discussions began as small disagreements, yet swiftly transformed into heated exchanges. Emily confronted Alex, claiming he valued his career more than their relationship, whereas Alex believed she failed to grasp the challenges he was dealing with. The decisive moment had arrived amidst a dispute that lingered in Alex's thoughts. Emily had charged him with isolating her, of regarding her as just another possession instead of a collaborator. He had struck out, uttering things he didn't truly mean, phrases that had pierced too deeply to be retracted. The following morning, she had vanished. She had not provided any explanation, nor had she responded to his attempts to reach her. In an instant, their marriage had concluded a year prior, following 6 tumultuous months spent together. For months, Alex immersed himself in his tasks, employing them as a barrier against the ache of her absence. He assured himself it was for the greater good, that their differences were too vast to bridge. Yet here he was, facing Emily in this shelter, and it dawned on him just how deeply he had deceived himself. The image of her cradling a baby that could possibly be his, broke through the meticulously built barriers surrounding his heart. "Emily," he murmured, his voice gently drawing her back from her reverie. She found herself gazing at Oliver, her fingers gently gliding along the contours of the blanket. "Though our relationship concluded on a sour note, I need you to share what transpired. What brought you to this place?" Emily's eyes shimmered with a blend of fury and fragility. "What's it to you, Alex? You turned and left. You clearly indicated that I wasn't deserving of your effort. That is simply not the case, he asserted with conviction. I chose to stay put. You departed. What makes you believe I chose to leave? She retorted, her tone elevating just a touch. I could no longer maintain the facade that everything was all right when it clearly wasn't. You became so immersed in your own universe that I seemed to fade from your view. Alex parted his lips to speak, only to seal them once more. She was indeed correct. He had not truly laid eyes on her. He had become so engrossed in his craft, in the persona he believed he had to maintain, that he failed to see her gradually drifting away. He acknowledged his errors, his tone genuine. Large ones. However, that doesn't imply I've ceased to care. Emily, your presence here feels out of place. Emily's laughter held a sharp edge. And where is my place, Alex? In your penthouse, feigning joy. That was ineffective in the past, and it remains so now. Her eyes fell upon Oliver, peacefully asleep in her embrace, his small hand grasping the hem of her sweater. Is he truly mine? Alex inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a murmur. Emily tensed, her grip on the baby becoming firmer. Is it significant? She responded, her tone guarded. It's important to me, Alex stated with conviction. If he is my son, I deserve to be informed. She paused, the turmoil clear in her gaze. At last, she let out a deep sigh. Indeed, Alex, he belongs to you. The word struck him with the force of a freight train. His breath hitched in his throat, rendering him momentarily speechless. He gazed at Oliver, the small being he had unwittingly brought into the world, and was overwhelmed by a rush of unnamed feelings. Remorse, elation, trepidation. They all blended into a captivating whirlwind of chaos. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, his voice laced with sorrow. Since you had already left, Emily remarked, her voice becoming gentler. I never believed you would be interested, and even if you were, I didn't want him to feel like a responsibility as he grew up. He truly deserves more than that. Alex's heart shattered at her words. He's not a burden, he stated, his tone resolute. He is my child, and I wish to be involved in his life. Emily gazed at him, her face reflecting a blend of anticipation and doubt. Crafting words is a simple task, Alex. Demonstrate it. Her challenge lingered, a bold declaration set before them. Alex locked eyes with her, a fierce resolve building within him. He was determined to find a way to demonstrate it, no matter the challenge. For Emily, for Oliver, and for the opportunity he longed for with all his heart. Emily cradled Oliver in her arms, her expression shifting to one of unwavering determination. She had wished to sidestep this moment, the encounter with Alex, the revisiting of hurtful memories. Yet, with him positioned directly opposite her, avoidance was no longer an option. The truth insisted on being revealed, regardless of its harshness or unease. Once I departed, Emily started, her tone unwavering yet laced with a subtle melancholy. I believed I could begin anew. I believed I could create a life free from the ongoing struggle between your desires and my true self. Alex recoiled at her words yet remained quiet, his attention steadfast. For a time, it was effective. I found a cozy little apartment nestled in a more tranquil area of the city. I picked up painting once more, an activity I hadn't engaged in for months. I even took on a few freelance projects. It may not have been grand, but it belonged to me. After what felt like an eternity, I experienced a sense of liberation. Her gaze fell upon Oliver, who shifted slightly before drifting back into slumber. And then I discovered I was expecting. Alex's breath caught in his throat, yet he remained silent. Fear gripped her, she confessed, her voice trembling for the first time. Not because I lacked desire for him. I craved him with an intensity that surpassed all else. However, I was uncertain about how I would manage to make it all come together. I struggled to make ends meet, just managing to pay for rent and groceries. How was I meant to support a child? Emily inhaled deeply, finding her composure. I considered reaching out to you. Countless instances found me reaching for the phone, only to set it down again. I convinced myself that you were preoccupied, too wrapped up in your own life to pay attention to mine. Perhaps fear was a factor for me. Afraid that you might perceive him merely as another obligation to handle, instead of the extraordinary being he truly is. Alex's jaw clenched, yet he held his tongue, his face a mask of inscrutability. Things became more challenging after Oliver arrived, she continued, her voice growing more somber. I was unable to accept as many projects. On most days, sleep eluded me as I balanced diapers and feedings, striving to keep everything running smoothly. Then the landlord decided to increase the rent. I faced a difficult decision, maintaining our home or purchasing formula. Her eyes brimmed with tears, yet she managed to blink them back. That was the moment I arrived here. The shelter was the sole refuge that welcomed us without hesitation. They provided us with a bed, nourishment, and a feeling of security that had eluded me for months. Emily lifted her eyes, her gaze meeting Alex's with intensity. I felt a sense of disappointment about it. I felt a deep sense of regret for not being able to provide Oliver with the life he truly deserved. However, I refused to allow him to suffer from hunger. Alex leaned in, his elbows propped on his knees. Emily, a call would have been appreciated. You ought to have allowed me to assist. Would you have responded, she challenged, her voice escalating. Or would I have simply been another item on your agenda? Another challenge to tackle amidst the hustle of meetings and mergers? Alex flinched, her words piercing more than he was willing to acknowledge. You don't understand, she insisted, her voice quivering now. I wasn't merely concerned about the possibility of you turning us away. I feared the prospect of rediscovering my own absence once more. Fearful of being consumed by your realm, where I was merely an ornament, never a counterpart. I never saw you that way, Alex said quietly, his voice heavy with remorse. Perhaps not on purpose, Emily admitted. Yet, that was the sensation it evoked. And I was unable to return to that. This isn't suitable for either of us. The atmosphere grew dense with an unyielding quiet, laden with feelings left unsaid. Alex's eyes fell upon Oliver, whose delicate fingers stirred gently in slumber. He endeavored to envision Emily's battle, attempting to harmonize the spirited, resolute woman he had fallen for with the one who had endured so much adversity in solitude. I can't change the past, Alex said finally, his voice gravelly. The errors I've committed cannot be erased, nor can I reclaim the moments I failed to be present. However, I possess the ability to alter what lies ahead. I wish to support Oliver and you, if you allow me to do so. Emily's gaze locked onto his, her doubt unmistakable. What's the reason for this, Alex? What has shifted? All of it, he stated plainly. Your presence here, cradling him, feels like a moment of awakening. For years, I pursued success, believing it would bring me happiness. Yet, the reality is, I've never experienced such profound emptiness as I did the moment you turned your back. Emily felt a sudden catch in her breath, the genuine nature of his words leaving her momentarily speechless. For a fleeting instant, she caught a glimpse of the man she had fallen for, the one who had gazed at her as if she were the sole focus of his universe. I'm not seeking your forgiveness, Alex continued. I understand that I may not have earned it, but I am seeking an opportunity to demonstrate my potential for improvement, to be the father Oliver deserves, and to provide the support you require. Emily paused, her heart a tumultuous mix of hope and fear. She yearned to have faith in him, to hold on to the hope that this time things would change. Yet the shadows of their history cast a long presence, a haunting echo of the anguish that had compelled her departure. You say that now, she remarked at last, her tone gentle yet resolute. But what occurs when challenges arise? When will work draw you away once more? How can I be sure you won't revert to previous behaviors? Alex leaned in, his eyes unwavering. He conceded that you don't. I can't guarantee perfection, but I assure you I'll put in every effort to make this succeed. For you, for Oliver, for our shared journey. Emily examined him closely, looking for any hint of dishonesty, yet all she perceived was a man devoid of artifice, exposing his true feelings. I'll think about it, she said at last, her voice a mere whisper. That's the extent of my assurance. Alex nodded, fully grasping the significance of her words. It may not have been a triumph, yet it marked the beginning of something new. In the softly illuminated room of the shelter, the gap between them seemed a touch more manageable. After an extended period, the prospect of a fresh beginning, a future crafted not by previous errors but by the decisions taken from this point onward, appeared attainable. Once he departed from the shelter that day, Alex found himself seated in his car, the heaviness of Emily's words bearing down on him. The soft purr of the engine stood in sharp relief to the tempest swirling within his thoughts. Her accusations, while lacking in malice, had pierced him with a sharp clarity. Each word she uttered revealed a reality he could no longer ignore. For years, Alex had defined achievement by the concrete, the figures in his bank account, the recognition from his colleagues, the growth of his enterprise. As he gazed out at the lively city streets, an emptiness stirred deep inside him. What was the purpose of it all if there was no one to share it with? He reminisced about their union. At first, they were bound together, their affection brimming with fervor and potential. Emily was the anchor in his existence, her creativity and unrestrained nature harmonizing with his determination and aspirations. Yet, at some point in his journey, he had forgotten what was genuinely important. He had become engulfed by his work, and the traits that initially captivated him about Emily, her creativity and independence, were now eclipsed by his unyielding chase for achievement. The echoes of their disputes lingered in his thoughts, reminiscent of a classic movie. Her voice, a desperate call for his presence, for him to recognize her as more than merely a convenient companion, resonated in his mind. He had brushed aside her worries at that time, promising her that his extended hours and late nights were all for the sake of their future. But now, observing her at the shelter with their son, his son, he understood just how mistaken he had been. The following days unfolded in a whirlwind of meetings and obligations, yet Alex's mind wandered to other realms. The shift was almost immediately apparent to his assistant. He lacked his typical authoritative presence, and his focus frequently wandered during crucial conversations. "Mr. Carter, how are you feeling today?" she inquired one morning following a notably fragmented presentation. Alex massaged his temples, managing a faint smile. "I'm doing well, Clara, just reflecting on a few personal matters." Clara, having collaborated with Alex for many years, paused momentarily before responding. At times, it is wise to take a step back and concentrate on what is genuinely important when addressing personal issues. Her words, though unadorned, resonated deeply. Alex came to the understanding that he had been so focused on mending things according to his own perspective that he hadn't taken a moment to reflect on what Emily or Oliver genuinely required. That evening, Alex arrived at a pivotal conclusion. Rather than returning to his luxurious penthouse, he made his way to the suburbs where his mother resided. Months had passed since his last visit, and he yearned for her insight to illuminate his thoughts. Margaret, his mother, had consistently served as his sounding board, her wisdom illuminating the chaos of his life. Margaret welcomed him at the door, her expression brightening with unexpected delight. "Greetings, Alex. This is quite an unexpected delight. Step inside." In the warm embrace of the cozy living room, Alex paused, contemplating the words that lingered just beyond the tip of their tongue. "Mom, I seek your guidance." Margaret placed her tea on the table, her demeanor shifting to one of gravity. "Absolutely, my dear. What thoughts are occupying your mind?" He revealed all his thoughts to her. Encountering Emily, uncovering Oliver, and the overwhelming guilt that now enveloped him. Margaret absorbed every word, her expression transforming with empathy as he shared his deepest feelings. "I don't know how to fix this," Alex admitted, his voice trembling. I let them down, Mom. I let Emily down. And now I'm letting Oliver down before I've even had the opportunity to be his father. Margaret extended her hand, gently resting it on his in a gesture of solace. Alex, setbacks are not the end. It's an opportunity, a moment for development. The inquiry stands, are you prepared to put in the effort to set things straight? I am, he stated confidently. However, I'm uncertain about how to begin. Margaret offered a soft smile. Begin with attentive listening. Emily values sincerity over elaborate displays or commitments that may falter. She must feel your presence, genuinely present, for both her and Oliver. Demonstrate it to her, Alex. Don't merely convey it to her. Her words lingered in his mind long after he had departed. That evening, Alex settled into his study, crafting a strategy. This is not a plan for a business, it's a plan for personal growth. A plan to gain Emily's trust and be the father that Oliver truly deserves. It will be a challenging and time-consuming journey. For the first time in years, Alex experienced a profound sense of purpose that transcended mere wealth or success. The following morning, Alex reached out to his assistant. Clara, please arrange my schedule for the week. I have some significant issues to address. Clara refrained from inquiring further, yet her tone conveyed approval. Absolutely, Mr. Carter. Alex devoted the next few days to fully diving into Emily's universe. He toured the shelter, engaging with the staff to grasp its operations and identify its needs. He discovered that it was inadequately funded and facing challenges in accommodating the increasing number of families in need of refuge. A kind-hearted woman named Linda, one of the shelter's coordinators, observed Alex's interest. So, you're the one who used to be married to Emily, right? She inquired one afternoon while they sorted through the supplies. Indeed, Alex acknowledged. I am eager to assist in any way possible. Linda observed him intently for a moment before giving a nod of understanding. Begin by grasping the reasons for her presence. Emily carries her pride with an undeniable strength. If she is present, it is due to a lack of alternatives. Her words ignited a fire within Alex. He dedicated his evenings to exploring methods to enhance the shelter's resources, generating ideas for initiatives that could offer sustainable support. Yet, what truly mattered was his growing ability to perceive the world as Emily did, understanding the challenges she encountered and the sacrifices she endured for Oliver. Upon Alex's return to the shelter a week later, a noticeable change had taken place within him. He wasn't present as a wealthy individual or a person in search of forgiveness. He stood as a father, prepared to mend the bridge he had once set ablaze. Emily observed him from afar as he engaged with the staff and played with a few of the children residing at the shelter. She found it impossible to overlook the transformation within him. He appeared gentler, more centered, yet she couldn't overlook the barriers she had constructed around her heart. As Alex drew near that evening, she responded to his gaze with a mix of caution and intrigue. It seems you've had quite a lot on your plate. He acknowledged it. I've been seeking clarity, and I'm eager to delve deeper. To assist you, to support Oliver, and to aid the families present. Emily folded her arms, her face a mask of mystery. What brings you to this moment, Alex? What prompted this abrupt shift? He stated plainly that he has come to understand what truly holds significance. It's neither the wealth nor the achievement. It is you. My name is Oliver. It's an opportunity to engage in something authentic. Emily's heart trembled, yet she remained resolute. Deeds carry more weight than mere expressions, Alex. If you want to prove yourself, show me, Alex nodded, embracing the challenge. He understood that forgiveness wouldn't come easily, yet he was committed to working for it, little by little, each day. In the weeks that followed, Alex found himself deeply engaged in a fresh routine, one that revolved around Emily, Oliver, and the shelter. The era of perpetual meetings and long nights at the workplace has come to an end. Instead, he discovered himself exchanging tailored suits for cozy sweaters, business transactions for genuine conversations, and corporate strategies for community-focused initiatives. He began modestly, honoring Emily's boundaries while demonstrating unwavering dedication. His initial action involved extending help to the shelter, ensuring it remained focused on their needs rather than his own. Initially, Alex contributed without revealing their identity, making sure the shelter was equipped with essential supplies such as diapers, formula, blankets, and food. He collaborated intimately with Linda and the other coordinators to grasp the underlying challenges they encountered and generated sustainable solutions through brainstorming. "What is the reason behind your actions?" Linda inquired one afternoon while they sifted through the donations. Alex took a moment, weighing his reply. "It's essential, and I must demonstrate to Emily that I've changed from who I once was." Linda considered the matter with a thoughtful nod. "Ensure that your motivations are genuine and aligned with your true intentions. Emily is perfectly capable of standing on her own without anyone coming to her rescue. She requires a companion." Alex truly absorbed her words. Rather than attempting to resolve every issue simultaneously, he concentrated on establishing a solid base of trust. He dedicated his time to volunteering at the shelter, engaging with the families present, and absorbing their narratives. These moments brought him to his knees, offering a viewpoint he had never encountered prior. Life transcended the mere act of ascending the corporate hierarchy. It revolved around the idea of connection. Concerning the importance of supporting others during their times of greatest need. Emily observed his endeavors from afar, caught in a conflict of doubt and respect. She couldn't ignore the effort Alex was putting in, yet the wounds of their history still lingered in her heart. It transcended Oliver alone. It was a matter of demonstrating that he could embody consistency, reliability, and selflessness, traits she had not observed in him throughout their marriage. As dusk settled in, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Alex sat quietly on the front steps of the shelter. Emily stepped forward, cradling Oliver gently in her embrace. The infant was whimpering, his wails resonating through the stillness of the street. "Challenging evening?" Alex inquired softly. Emily let out a soft sigh, gently bouncing Oliver in her arms. "He is experiencing the discomfort of teething. No remedy appears to bring him peace. Could I give it a go?" With a hint of uncertainty, Alex made the offer. Emily paused, her uncertainty evident, before finally nodding and passing Oliver along. With a gentle touch, Alex held his son close, each movement measured and intentional. He started to hum gently, a melody that echoed from his own youth. To Emily's astonishment, Oliver's wails started to diminish. His small fists softened as he snuggled against Alex's chest. "You've got the magic touch," Emily said softly, her voice laced with a hint of astonishment. Alex gazed affectionately at Oliver. "He is truly remarkable, Emily. I can hardly fathom how much I've overlooked thus far." For a fleeting moment, Emily's expression softened, but then she turned her gaze elsewhere. "It wasn't solely about you, Alex. I needed to safeguard him, safeguard my own well-being." "I understand," Alex stated with sincerity, "and I will dedicate my life to showing you that I am no longer the person I used to be. I wish to be present for both of you." Emily took her time to reply. Instead, she observed Alex cradling Oliver, a whirlwind of feelings churning inside her. She yearned to have faith in him, to hold on to the hope that he had transformed. Yet, trust was not a fragile thing that could be restored in an instant. The following day, Alex approached Linda with a concept. The shelter requires more than mere contributions. It requires enduring stability. Linda arched an eyebrow. "What do you propose?" "It's a collaboration," Alex elaborated. "I possess the means to establish a fund for the shelter, a safeguard to guarantee its ongoing stability. However, I prefer not to simply throw money at the issue. I aim to engage the community in developing initiatives that enable these families to restore their lives." Linda's doubt began to fade as she noticed the genuine emotion reflected in Alex's gaze. That might be feasible, but it will require dedication and perseverance. I'm prepared for both, Alex stated with conviction. He started coordinating community gatherings, fundraising activities, and workshops designed to uplift the residents of the shelter. He tapped into his network, utilizing his connections to obtain job opportunities, scholarships, and counseling services for the families. Gradually and steadily, the shelter started to change. Not solely in a physical sense, but also on an emotional level. It transformed into a sanctuary of optimism and rejuvenation. Emily found it impossible to overlook the transformations unfolding in her surroundings. She noticed the expressions of the other residents as they regarded Alex, their appreciation unmistakable. She observed him connecting with Oliver, his unwavering patience and thoughtful care catching her off guard at every moment. And she started to experience a sensation she hadn't felt in ages, hope. One evening, following a notably triumphant fundraiser, Emily discovered Alex seated by himself in the shelter's quaint little garden. She moved toward him with care, her arms hugging her body to shield against the chill of the night. "It seems you've had quite a lot on your plate," she remarked, shattering the stillness. Alex glanced upward, a subtle smile dancing on his lips. Engaged in the effort to set things straight. Emily perched beside him, her eyes locked onto the celestial tapestry overhead. "Your contributions to the shelter, to Oliver, and to me have been significant." "It's insufficient," Alex conceded. "Yet, it marks the beginning." Emily pivoted to confront him, her demeanor inscrutable. "What's prompting this now, Alex? What is it about losing everything that reveals what truly matters?" Alex let out a deep breath, raking his fingers through his hair. "I'm afraid I can't provide a satisfactory response to that. All I can say is that witnessing you and Oliver that day transformed everything. I came to understand the extent of what I've discarded and the depth of my desire to continue the struggle." Emily gazed into his eyes, seeking any trace of dishonesty, yet discovered nothing amiss. "I need time," she said at last. "It's time to find out if this is genuine, if you're truly committed for the long run." "All the time you require will be yours," Alex assured. "I'm here to stay." In the serene garden, a delicate bond of understanding started to blossom between them. It was not a resolution, not at this moment. Yet it was a step, a small, cautious step toward mending the scars of their history and creating a future where trust and affection could flourish again. As time flowed from days into weeks, Alex's presence in Emily's life settled into a reassuring constancy. Initially, she reacted with irritation to his participation, believing it to be just a fleeting moment, a brief surge of remorse and duty. However, as time went on, she began to notice a sense of reliability, something Alex had not shown throughout their short-lived marriage. She observed him engaging with Oliver, who now laughed and stretched out his arms for Alex every time he walked into the room. She observed the transformations at the shelter, with fresh supplies coming in consistently, residents securing job opportunities, and Alex collaborating diligently with Linda to establish initiatives that truly empowered families. He was making a meaningful contribution. He was pouring in time, effort, and passion. One afternoon, Emily found herself in the shelter's humble common room, meticulously folding donated baby clothes as Oliver peacefully napped in a bassinet close by. Alex entered, cradling a box filled with fresh produce sourced from a nearby farmer's market. "I thought the shelter might benefit from some fresh ingredients," he remarked, setting the box down on the counter. Additionally, Linda expressed her desire to initiate a cooking workshop for the residents. Emily looked up, taken aback. "It seems you're fully immersing yourself in this, aren't you?" Alex shrugged, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "It goes beyond mere protection. It's about demonstrating the transformation I've undergone." Emily meticulously folded another tiny onesie, her actions measured and intentional. "The past is something you cannot change, Alex. The manner of your departure and the words you spoke cannot be undone. Indeed, he responded gently. Yet, I can dedicate each day to atoning for it, not through mere words, but through meaningful actions. She paused, her thoughts wandering to the fleeting moments of their brief union. She had succumbed to Alex's allure and self-assurance, convinced he would stand by her side in crafting a future together. Yet, as his career took over, she found herself fading into the background, her aspirations and desires overlooked. The evening they clashed over his commitments lingered in her thoughts, a night that concluded with him departing, leaving her solitary and shattered. "I'm not the same man I was back then," Alex remarked, shattering the stillness. "I was consumed by my own desires, unable to see the value of what surrounded me. Your absence has illuminated the true essence of what is important." Emily locked eyes with him, probing for any trace of the man who had once disappointed her. Instead, she perceived authenticity, remorse, and a resolve that had previously been absent. She concluded with a powerful assertion: actions resonate more profoundly than mere words. To demonstrate your transformation, continue to be present. Continue with your steady approach, Alex acknowledged, realizing that restoring trust takes time. "I shall." As the evening settled in, Emily gently rocked Oliver to sleep, her mind drifting to the weight of Alex's words. She yearned to place her faith in him, yet her heart remained shielded, her trust delicate. Still, a tiny fragment of her, a sensation she hadn't experienced in ages, wished for his sincerity. The following day, Alex arrived with an unexpected delight. "I figured you could use a break," he said, presenting 2 tickets to a local event at the park. Linda consented to look after Oliver for a short while. Emily arched an eyebrow. "You managed to persuade Linda to babysit?" "She hardly ever enjoys stepping away from her desk." Alex smiled broadly. "I might have sweetened the deal with a brand new office chair." With a hint of hesitation, Emily consented. The afternoon was spent meandering through the park, taking in the sounds of local musicians and savoring bites from an array of vendors. After months of turmoil, Emily finally experienced a fleeting sense of normalcy, a brief respite from the burdens that had been pressing down on her. At one moment, Alex purchased a bracelet for her from a quaint artisan stall, a modest silver band featuring the word hope delicately engraved upon it. "It brought you to mind," he said, his tone sincere. "You've consistently been the optimistic one, even in challenging times." Emily slid the bracelet onto her wrist, feeling her heart warm unexpectedly. "Thank you very much." They perched on a bench with a view of the park's lake, the sun draping a warm golden light across the shimmering water. Alex faced her, his demeanor grave. "I understand that I've caused you pain, Emily. I understand that rebuilding your trust will require patience. However, I want you to understand that I am fully committed. By any means necessary, for as long as it requires." Emily's defenses, meticulously built over months of anguish and self-protection, started to show signs of weakness. She gazed at Alex, the man who had once broken her heart, and perceived someone who was earnestly attempting to mend it once more. "I'm not sure I'm ready to forgive you," she confessed. "However, I'm open to exploring the possibilities ahead." Alex extended his hand towards hers, his touch soft and tender. "That's everything I could ever wish for." From that moment onward, their relationship transformed. Emily invited Alex to come nearer, carefully exploring the depths of their budding connection. They devoted more time to each other, not merely as co-parents, but as 2 individuals rekindling the connection that had initially united them. Alex's actions remained profoundly expressive. He arrived daily, not solely for Emily, but also for Oliver and the other inhabitants of the shelter. He absorbed the lessons, evolved, and let go of the pride and self-centeredness that had previously characterized him. The path for Emily was fraught with challenges. Confidence hung by a thread, while apprehension loomed in the background. Yet, with every gesture of compassion, every instance of generosity, her uncertainties began to diminish. Gradually, the barriers surrounding her heart started to fall away, creating room for something fresh, a love founded on trust, redemption, and the promise of second chances. As the weeks unfolded, the cadence of their existence started to find its groove. Alex had become a vital presence in the daily lives of both Emily and Oliver. Even with her protective heart, Emily found it impossible to overlook the influence Alex had on their little family. He had established himself as a constant figure, someone she discovered she depended on more than she had anticipated. Yet, just as Emily began to feel that they could forge something significant, a startling truth rattled the delicate structure they were constructing. The morning at the shelter was serene and still. The inhabitants were occupied with their tasks, while Emily was in the office perfecting a grant application. Alex walked in, coffee and breakfast in hand, just like he did on most mornings. "I thought you might appreciate a little break," he remarked, placing the food on her desk with a grin. Emily glanced away from her screen, a gentle smile playing on her lips. "You've developed a remarkable depth of insight, it seems." Alex let out a soft laugh. "I'm working on accumulating those consistency points." Before Emily had a chance to reply, Linda stormed into the office, her complexion ashen and her hands gripping a sheet of paper tightly. "Emily, you have to check this out," Linda urged, her tone filled with urgency. Emily's brow furrowed as she accepted the paper from Linda's shaking hands. A letter arrived from the shelter's main benefactor, a generous philanthropist who had been a steadfast supporter for many years. The correspondence indicated that funding would be terminated without delay, referencing issues related to financial oversight. "This must be a mistake," Emily exclaimed, her voice trembling with anxiety. "We have openly shared all details regarding our expenses." Linda gently shook her head, a subtle gesture that spoke volumes. "There's no error here. I reached out to their office, and they verified it. Without that funding, we face significant challenges ahead." Alex moved in, peering intently at what Emily was working on. His jaw clenched as he absorbed the gravity of the situation. "I'll take care of this," he stated with conviction. "Allow me to speak with them." Emily's gaze sharpened. "What makes you think they would pay attention to your words?" Alex paused, a brief shadow of remorse flitting across his expression. "I have a personal connection with the sponsor." Emily felt a heavy weight in her chest. "Could you clarify what you mean?" With a steadying breath, Alex articulated their thoughts. "The sponsor is Robert Carrington. He's a longtime acquaintance of the family. Upon discovering your presence at the shelter, I reached out to him for guidance. I was unsure of how to reach out to you, so I requested him to share all the details he could about the shelter. I was completely unaware that he would turn that information against you." Emily gazed at him, a wave of disbelief and betrayal crashing over her. "You acted without my knowledge. You leveraged your contacts to pry into my personal affairs." "I never intended for it to cause you pain," Alex said hastily. "I aimed to grasp your experiences so that I could offer my support." "You had no right," Emily snapped, her voice quivering with fury. "This shelter represents the culmination of my dedication and passion. You've put everything at risk by not approaching me directly." Alex confessed to making a mistake. "However, I have the ability to resolve this. I would like to speak with Robert." Emily shook her head, her faith in Alex completely broken. "Your efforts have been more than sufficient." That evening, Emily found herself in the shelter's common room, lost in thought. The shelter had faced numerous trials, yet the loss of their main funding could spell disaster for all she had dedicated herself to achieving. And Alex, a person she had begun to welcome back into her life, had shattered her trust in a manner she never anticipated. As she gently cradled Oliver in her arms, tears flowed silently down her cheeks. She found herself feeling as though she had returned to the beginning, isolated and uncertain about who was worthy of her trust. In the meantime, Alex was resolute in their quest to set things straight. He scheduled a meeting with Robert Carrington, planning to face the individual who had withdrawn the financial support. The meeting unfolded in a towering office with a panoramic view of the city, a striking juxtaposition to the humble refuge that Alex had grown to cherish. "You've got some nerve," Robert said, reclining in his leather chair, showing up here after I did you a favor. With a steady yet icy tone, Alex stated that withdrawing the funding was not a favor. It was a deliberate act of undermining. That shelter is doing remarkable work, and you're penalizing them just because I sought information, Robert smirked. The shelter poses a significant risk. Backing it damages my standing, particularly with your ex-wife in the picture. Alex's hands tightened into fists. Emily stands out as one of the most skilled and empathetic individuals I have ever encountered. Withdrawing the funding is unrelated to her and entirely about your pride. Robert's expression grew somber. Are you really prepared to jeopardize your reputation for someone who walked away from you? She did not abandon me, Alex stated with conviction. Leaving her was undoubtedly the gravest error I could have made. If assisting her comes at the cost of my reputation, then I accept that consequence. For the first time, Robert appeared genuinely surprised. Are you truly committed to this? Indeed, I am, Alex responded. Restore the funding, or I will seek alternative sponsors who are willing to step in. Following a heavy pause, Robert ultimately gave in. All right, but please refrain from seeking my assistance in the future. Alex exited the meeting with a blend of relief and determination. He had obtained the funding, yet he understood that it wouldn't mend the breach he had caused in Emily's trust. Upon his return to the shelter that evening, he discovered her in the garden, gently holding Oliver in her arms. I fixed it, he said softly, taking a seat beside her. The funding has been restored. Emily averted her gaze from him. That doesn't alter your actions. I'm aware, Alex remarked. However, I will continue to strive to regain your trust. I will persist, no matter the challenges I face. For an extended period, they remained quiet, the gravity of their discussion lingering palpably in the air. At last, Emily found her voice. I'm not sure I can find it in my heart to forgive you, she confessed. Yet, I am aware that this journey cannot be undertaken in solitude. Alex extended his hand towards hers, his touch cautious and uncertain. There's no obligation to do so. I have arrived, Emily. For you and Oliver. For however long it may require. Despite her defenses remaining intact, Emily sensed a flicker of optimism. A subtle yet unmistakable glimmer of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, they might rediscover their connection. The days after Alex's intervention swept Emily into a tumultuous storm of emotions. The shelter's funding was reinstated, and although the urgent crisis was sidestepped, the emotional turmoil that Alex had sparked remained palpable. Emily found herself caught in a whirlwind of appreciation for his endeavors and fury at his treachery. Her heart battled against her mind. Was it possible for her to place her trust in him once more? Emily immersed herself in her tasks, seeking to escape the chaos inside her mind. The shelter required her attention, and Oliver relied on her resilience. Yet, Alex's presence lingered, a perpetual echo of the unresolved tension that hung between them. He faced it head-on. Instead, he embraced every chance to lend a hand, whether it was mending broken shelves, coordinating donation drives, or just being there for Oliver. One afternoon, Emily caught sight of Alex from her spot in the shelter's common room. He sat on the floor with Oliver, lifting a vividly colored toy, while the baby erupted in fits of giggles. The scene pulled at her heartstrings in ways she had not anticipated. Alex appeared effortlessly authentic, completely comfortable in a role she never thought he would take on. What's with the way you're looking at him? Linda inquired, interrupting Emily's daydream. I'm not staring, Emily said hastily, redirecting her focus to the documents laid out before her. Linda arched an eyebrow. It's perfectly okay to have feelings for him, you know. Individuals may err, yet it is their subsequent actions that hold significance. Emily let out a weary breath, her fingers tangling in her hair. It's more complex than that. He caused me pain, Linda. What he did transcended my own experience. It jeopardized all that I have strived for. However, he repaired it, Linda noted, and he shows up daily, demonstrating his commitment to making things right. That exceeds what the majority would accomplish. Later that evening, Alex discovered Emily in the kitchen of the shelter. She was scrubbing the dishes with an intensity that seemed excessive, the strain in her shoulders evident even from the threshold. "Emily," Alex murmured gently, as he entered the room. She kept her gaze fixed downward. "What is it that you desire?" He responded with a simple acknowledgement. "To express regret." Once more, Emily let out a sigh, placing the dish she had been washing onto the counter. "Alex, I'm not looking for another apology. What I require is time. It's time to determine whether I can place my trust in you once more." He nodded, his demeanor grave. "I'm here for as long as it takes, but I want you to understand that I'm not leaving. I wish to be included in Oliver's life, and yours, if you allow it." Her gaze softened, yet words remained unspoken. Instead, she offered him a towel. "If you're committed to being here, you might begin by drying these dishes." With each passing week, Alex consistently demonstrated his capabilities. He was present for every minor upheaval and every serene instant, arriving not with extravagant displays, but with unwavering support and thoughtfulness. He established himself as a constant presence at the shelter, garnering admiration from both the staff and the residents. As the days went by, the cracks in Emily's walls started to appear. One evening, after tucking Oliver in for the night, Emily discovered Alex in the garden, gazing thoughtfully at the stars above. She paused for a moment, the crisp night air caressing her skin. "You've treated him well," she remarked, shattering the quietude. Alex glanced at her, taken aback. She nodded in agreement with Oliver. "Alongside all the other aspects, the shelter and its residents. Your efforts are evident." "I'm not merely attempting," Alex stated, his tone sincere. "I'm fully committed, Emily. For you, for Oliver, for whatever this may be. I understand that I cannot erase the errors of my past, yet I have the capacity to improve myself. I aspire to improve." Her heart constricted at his words. She yearned to have faith in him, to hold on to the hope that this man, who had once shattered her heart, could now be the one to heal it. Yet, the dread of experiencing pain once more loomed like a burdensome shadow. "Why now?" she inquired, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "What prompts you to take these actions at this moment, considering everything that has transpired?" Alex's gaze held firm, his eyes brimming with a vulnerability she had never encountered before. "Losing you stands as the greatest error of my existence, and I find it impossible to return to the person I once was. You have transformed me, Emily, along with Oliver. You have revealed to me the essence of what is truly important." That night, Emily found herself wide awake, her thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. Was forgiveness possible for her when it came to Alex? Was it possible for her to open her heart to him once more? She reflected on all the times he had supported her and Oliver, considering the man he was evolving into. A man who appeared to genuinely care, not only for her, but for the life they could create together. With the dawn of a new day, Emily resolved to take action. She discovered Alex in the shelter's storage room, meticulously organizing the donations. "I need to talk to you," she stated, her tone resolute. He placed the box he was holding on the ground and turned to meet her gaze. "What thoughts are swirling in your head?" "I can't guarantee you anything," she started. "Yet, I am open to the possibility of attempting to restore what has been lost." Alex's expression brightened with optimism. "That's all I've been seeking, Emily. An opportunity." She raised a hand, halting him in his tracks. "This doesn't imply that I've fully absolved you. It simply indicates my openness to exploring what lies ahead. However, one must exercise patience. You must demonstrate your sincerity to me daily." He promised himself, without fail, each and every day. In the weeks that ensued, Emily and Alex endeavored to reconstruct their bond, piece by piece. It was quite a challenge. Trust needed to be cultivated, and forgiveness was not granted in an instant. Yet, Alex's steadfast dedication, coupled with Emily's readiness to embrace him once more, set the stage for a fresh beginning. Though their journey was just beginning, they both recognized that the initial stride toward healing had been made. Hand in hand, they would confront any obstacles that came their way, bound by their affection for Oliver and the promise of a more radiant tomorrow. As the days morphed into weeks, Emily and Alex discovered themselves engaged in the intricate choreography of mending their bond. The process was delicate, akin to mending a broken vase bit by bit, fully aware that even when it was whole again, the fractures would still be visible. Yet, they both understood that those cracks need not represent fragility. They might serve as a powerful example of perseverance. Emily observed Alex intently during those initial days, gauging the authenticity of his commitments. She observed him rising early to assist the shelter staff in preparing for the day, lingering late to make sure everything was operating seamlessly. He was present with purpose. He was dedicating himself to the task at hand. Despite her efforts to remain guarded, it was undeniable how deeply Oliver cherished him. One afternoon, Emily stepped into the playroom and discovered Alex sprawled on the floor alongside Oliver. The infant was making its way toward a carefully constructed pile of blocks that Alex had thoughtfully organized into a magnificent edifice. With a joyful laugh, Oliver sent the blocks tumbling down, while Alex encouraged him, his laughter echoing throughout the space. "It seems you're enjoying yourself," Emily remarked, propping herself against the doorframe. Alex glanced upward, a wide grin spreading across his face. "He has an innate talent for destruction." She found herself bursting into laughter. "At least one among you possesses the skill of construction." For a brief instant, his smile wavered, yet he swiftly regained his composure. "I'm diving into it, beginning with ourselves." Emily felt a sudden rush of emotion. She yearned to have faith in him, to embrace this portrayal of Alex who appeared so unlike the person she had once left behind. Yet, trust was not a gift she could offer without hesitation. It was something that needed to be deserved. That evening, Alex made his way to Emily, who was diligently organizing the shelter records in her office. "Would you and Oliver like to join me for an outing tomorrow?" he inquired with a hint of uncertainty. Emily arched an eyebrow. "Gone. Where is it?" He described a park situated by the river. "I envisioned a delightful picnic for the three of us." She paused, uncertain if she was prepared for something that seemed so ordinary. Yet, the glimmer of hope in Alex's gaze captivated her. "All right," she replied at last. "However, don't anticipate anything extravagant. Oliver's preferences are far from sophisticated." Alex smiled broadly. "I'll make it straightforward." The following day, Alex showed up at the shelter, carrying a picnic basket. Emily encountered him outside, holding Oliver, who let out a joyful squeal at the sight of Alex. Hand in hand, they strolled to the park, the setting sun draping the city in a warm, golden light. Alex laid a blanket by the riverbank, carefully unpacking sandwiches, fruit, and snacks for Oliver. The infant reveled in the fresh environment, his joyful giggles resonating as he navigated the grassy expanse. As they dined, Emily discovered a sense of ease enveloping her in Alex's company. He focused on Oliver, making sure the little one was cozy and engaged. As their eyes locked, a warmth radiated from his gaze, one she had never encountered before, a true affection that stirred a mix of hope and trepidation within her chest. "You've changed," she remarked abruptly, shattering the serene quietude. Alex gazed at her, a contemplative look on his face. "I was compelled to. Your absence revealed the depth of my understanding regarding what truly holds significance." "And what holds significance for you at this moment?" she inquired, her tone measured. He acted without a moment's pause. "You and Oliver, mending the past, crafting a life that transcends mere wealth or achievement." His genuine nature took her by surprise. She sought to provoke him, urging him to substantiate his claims through tangible deeds. Yet a fragment of her, tiny yet expanding, yearned to trust that perhaps, just perhaps, he was being honest. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Emily observed Alex engaging with Oliver. The infant was captivated by a leaf that Alex held, chuckling as Alex animated it in the gentle wind. It was an ordinary moment, yet it resonated deeply, offering a fleeting insight into the possibilities that lay ahead if they could navigate their path together. As Alex made his way back to the shelter, he cradled the sleeping Oliver in his arms. Emily strolled alongside him, her heart burdened by a whirlwind of conflicting feelings. Uncertain of what lay ahead, she experienced a flicker of optimism for the first time in ages. "Thank you," she murmured gently as they arrived at the shelter. Alex gazed at her, taken aback. "For what purpose?" "In response to the effort," she said. "For existing in this moment, for him." His eyes grew tender. "I will persist, Emily, no matter how long it requires." That evening, Emily lingered beside Oliver's crib, observing her son in peaceful slumber. She reflected on the man Alex had been at their first encounter, the captivating, driven millionaire who had captivated her completely, yet ultimately left her in sorrow. She reflected on the man he had become, humble, patient, and resolute in his quest for redemption. Was it possible for her to fully forgive him? Was it possible for her to trust him enough to allow him back into her life, not merely as Oliver's father, but as her companion? She lacked the answers for the moment, yet she was determined to seek them out. The path ahead promised challenges, yet as she closed her eyes, a fragile calm enveloped Emily. They were embarking on a fresh journey, and that was sufficient for the moment. The days that came after their outing at the park unfolded as a sequence of subtle yet significant strides toward mending their relationship. Alex remained a constant presence, not only for Emily but also for the shelter and the individuals who found solace within its walls. It wasn't about elaborate displays. The steady presence slowly started to mend the delicate trust that existed between him and Emily. One morning, Emily discovered Alex in the kitchen, assisting with the breakfast preparations for the shelter residents. He donned an apron that barely accommodated his robust physique. With his sleeves rolled up, he expertly flipped pancakes, showcasing an unexpected finesse. "I had no idea you had culinary skills." She playfully leaned against the doorframe, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Alex glanced upward, a smile spreading across their face. "I did not. Acquired knowledge through YouTube." She found herself bursting into laughter. "I trust your audience has imparted valuable lessons to you." "Indeed," he responded, placing a flawlessly golden pancake onto the plate. "You and Oliver ought to give one a shot." It was an ordinary moment, yet it struck a chord with Emily. Watching Alex embrace her world, choosing to dive in rather than drag her back into his, sparked a glimmer of hope within her that perhaps they could discover a shared path. As the evening settled and the shelter hushed, Alex discovered Emily in the office, meticulously reviewing donation records. He set a steaming cup of tea before her, then took a seat across the desk. "You've been at it without a break," he remarked softly. "Allow me to assist you." Emily glanced upward, taken aback. "Is it with the shelter?" "With anything you require," he stated with sincerity. "I long to immerse myself in your world, to truly belong rather than merely observe from the sidelines." She paused, the burden of her duties pressing down on her. Managing the shelter was a heartfelt endeavor, yet it demanded an immense amount of energy. The idea of lightening the burden, even just a fraction, was alluring. "All right," she replied at last. "However, don't assume you're receiving any preferential treatment simply due to your relationship with Oliver." Alex beamed with joy. "I wouldn't even consider it." As time passed, Alex evolved into a vital component of the shelter's everyday functions. He assisted in fixing leaky faucets, coordinated fundraising events, and even established a tutoring program for the children residing there. The connections and resources that once seemed like a divide between them transformed into instruments for elevating the community Emily had devoted herself to supporting. On a bustling afternoon, amidst the flurry of activity, Alex caught wind of a fervent dispute between two residents of the shelter. With unwavering resolve, he entered the fray, navigating the discord with a serene, understanding demeanor that eased the strain. Later, Emily discovered him in the corridor. "I witnessed your actions just now," she remarked. "Thanks," he said with a shrug. It seemed like the appropriate course of action. She observed him intently, the protective barriers surrounding her heart beginning to yield ever so slightly. "You've transformed, Alex." "Indeed," he responded. "However, perhaps that's not such a negative aspect after all." As the shelter flourished through their united endeavors, Emily started to catch sight of the man she had once adored. The Alex who showed profound compassion, who paid close attention, who embraced the challenge of getting his hands dirty to strive for a purpose beyond his own. Yet, it was not merely his deeds that conveyed profound meaning. His gaze was fixed on her, as if she held the utmost significance in his universe. His care for Oliver was a testament to the fatherly love that Emily had always envisioned for her son. It was in the manner he honored her boundaries, never urging her to progress more swiftly than she felt prepared for. One evening, as they strolled through the city after a long day, Alex came to a sudden halt. "I need to say something," he began, his tone grave. Emily pivoted to confront him, her heart racing. "What is it exactly?" "I realize I've caused you pain," he admitted. "I understand that I've disappointed you in ways that can't be undone, but I want you to know that I'm committed to spending my life making amends, if you'll allow me the chance." His openness took her by surprise. For an extended period, she had maintained her defenses, shielding herself from the chance of experiencing pain once more. Yet, as she stood there amidst the bustling street, it dawned on her that Alex had transformed into someone entirely different from the man who had exited her life half a year prior. He was a person who had battled his way back into her life, not through words, but through deeds. "I don't know if I'm ready yet," she admitted, her voice a soft murmur. "That's all right," he remarked, his eyes unwavering. "I'm here to stay." The next week, Alex planned a delightful surprise for Emily. He turned the shelter's rooftop into a charming garden, adorned with sparkling fairy lights, vibrant potted flowers, and a snug seating nook. Upon laying eyes on it for the very first time, Emily found herself utterly at a loss for words. Alex explained that he wanted to provide you with a space to breathe. A place to retreat when the weight of the world becomes too much to bear. Emily strolled through the area, her fingertips gliding over the delicate petals of a blossoming rose. "It's beautiful," she remarked, turning to meet his gaze. "Thank you," Alex smiled, a look of relief clear on his face. "You truly deserve it." As they stood together beneath the stars, Emily experienced a flicker of an emotion she hadn't encountered in ages: tranquility. Perhaps, just perhaps, they were beginning to find their way toward recovery. As time flowed on, the patterns of their existence gradually found a semblance of balance. The shelter flourished thanks to the collaborative guidance of Alex and Emily. The previously worn-down structure now shone with vibrant new paint, restored fixtures, and an undeniable sense of optimism. The residents, who once regarded Alex with doubt, had come to see him as a vital member of their community. Yet, in the midst of advancements and minor triumphs, the connection between Alex and Emily continued to be the essence of everything. It had its flaws and faced obstacles, yet it was authentic and gaining strength with each passing day. On a brisk autumn evening, while the shelter hosted its yearly fundraising gala, Alex found a moment to retreat from the bustling crowd. The rooftop garden he crafted for Emily had evolved into an enchanting venue for the occasion, adorned with gentle lights and a breathtaking view of the city skyline. Emily discovered him there, resting against the railing, lost in contemplation. "Fleeing from your own gathering?" she playfully teased, her tone airy. He pivoted, a radiant smile spreading across his face at the mere glimpse of her. She exuded a captivating charm in a modest yet sophisticated dress, her hair cascading in gentle waves around her shoulders. He paused for a moment to reflect on all that he appreciated. What you've created here is truly remarkable, Emily. We have constructed it, she amended, stepping beside him at the railing. Your support made all the difference. They lingered in a comfortable quiet, the buzz of the gala receding into the distance. Emily, Alex started, his tone surprisingly gentle. There's a thought that's been lingering in my mind, she said, turning to him, her heart racing with anticipation. What is it exactly? He inhaled deeply, his hand delving into his pocket. As he revealed a delicate velvet box, Emily felt her breath hitch in her throat. For the past year, I have dedicated myself to showing both you and myself that I can be the person you and Oliver truly deserve, he stated, his voice unwavering yet brimming with feeling. I acknowledge my flaws and understand that perfection is unattainable. However, I assure you that I will dedicate my life to bringing you joy and nurturing our family unity. As he lifted the lid of the box, a simple yet elegant ring came into view. It lacked extravagance or showiness, yet it held deep significance, embodying all they had created together. Emily, will you take my hand in marriage once more? He inquired, his eyes fixed intently on hers. Emotion flooded Emily's gaze as she looked at the man standing in front of her. This was not the Alex she had wed in a whirlwind just over a year prior. This was a man who had battled to gain her trust, who had appeared each day not merely with words, but with deeds. Indeed, she murmured, her voice quivering. Indeed, Alex. The jubilant sounds from the gala below floated up to the rooftop as Alex slipped the ring onto her finger. He drew her into a close embrace, and for the first time in what seemed like an eternity, Emily permitted herself to completely surrender, to have faith, to dream, to love. Oliver's laughter shattered the stillness as he bounded up the stairs, a balloon clutched tightly in one hand. Mother? Father? What's happening? Emily sank to her knees, enveloping him in a warm embrace. My partner just proposed to me once more. Oliver's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Does that imply I get to carry the ring? Alex laughed softly, playfully tousling his son's hair. You are destined to be the most remarkable ring-bearer. The wedding unfolded a month later in the rooftop garden, enveloped by their dearest friends, the Shelter residents, and the new family they had lovingly built together. Emily strolled down the aisle in an elegant gown, grasping Oliver's hand as they approached Alex, who stood there with a radiant smile that could brighten any room. As they exchanged vows, the words flowed effortlessly, pledges of love, partnership, and an unwavering dedication to the family they had formed. As the evening progressed and the festivities began to fade, Alex and Emily found themselves seated beneath the vast expanse of stars, observing Oliver as he twirled and danced with the other children from the Shelter. I never imagined we would find ourselves in this place, Emily confessed, leaning her head against Alex's shoulder. Me neither, Alex replied, his voice brimming with wonder, yet I wouldn't exchange it for anything. They observed Oliver spinning joyfully, his laughter echoing all around. It was a moment of sheer delight, a reflection of their remarkable journey. I love you, Alex declared, his voice unwavering and confident. Emily gazed up at him, her eyes sparkling with light. I cherish you as well. As they sat together, fingers intertwined, enveloped in warmth and joy, they realized that their journey was only starting, a tale of healing, strength, and a bond powerful enough to endure any challenge. United once more, they embarked on a fresh journey, brimming with optimism, joy, and the assurance of eternity. If this tale resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Remember to show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing for more touching tales.